The lights were brighter than I remembered. Music pounded through the hall, laughter echoing off the marble walls. I held the small wrapped box in my hand so tightly the corners dug into my palm. Ethan, you actually came. Lena's voice rang out like she owned the place. She did, in a way. Everyone turned when she spoke. I smiled weakly. Yeah. I didn't want to miss your birthday. Her eyes flicked down to my suit. I had ironed it twice before coming. But under those spotlights, it looked cheaper than ever. Wow, she said, her lips curling. That's bold. Is it vintage, or just what I could afford? I said quickly, forcing a laugh. A guy beside her, tall, slick hair, sharp tucks, leaned in. That's hilarious, he said. You must really love her to wear that. The laughter spread like fire. I felt every sound pierce my skin. Lena smirked. You know, Ethan always had that humble style. Very small town. I swallowed hard. I made it myself. That only made it worse. Someone whispered, he made that, and the room broke into another round of laughter. I turned toward the bar, pretending to be thirsty. The bartender avoided my eyes. I didn't even have the heart to open the gift anymore. It was a small bracelet I'd saved for weeks to buy silver, with her initials. Now, it looked like a joke. Ethan? Lena called after me, her voice sweet again. Don't be upset. We're just having fun. Fun. I faced her. You humiliate me in front of everyone and call it fun. Ryan, her new boyfriend, stepped forward. Hey, calm down, man. She's moved on. You should too. My jaw tightened. Yeah, I can see that. Don't make a scene, Lena hissed. Her smile frozen for the crowd. You're embarrassing yourself. I stared at her, the same girl who used to wait for me outside my old apartment, laughing at the rain, saying she loved my honesty. That girl was gone. I nodded slowly. You're right, I don't belong here, she shrugged. At least you know. Their laughter followed me as I walked toward the exit. My steps felt heavier with every echo behind me. Outside, the air was cold. I looked down at the gift still clutched in my hand. My fingers trembled. I wanted to throw it, but I couldn't. It wasn't her fault, I believed in her lies. It was mine, Ethan. I turned. Clara stood by the gate, wrapped in her denim jacket, her brown hair loose around her face. I saw you go in, she said softly. I was waiting. I tried to smile. You didn't miss much. Just a good comedy show. She frowned. What happened? I laughed, sharp, broken. She laughed at me. Everyone did. My suit, my gift, my everything. Clara took a step closer. You don't deserve that. She's not worth it. I stared at the ground. You didn't see her face, Clara. She looked at me like I was dirt. Like I never mattered. She's blind then, Clara said, voice firm. You're more than what you wear. Tell that to her. I'd rather tell it to you. The wind cut between us, carrying the music from inside. I could still hear the laughter, the one that burned into my memory. Clara's voice softened. You can't let her break you like this. I looked at the small box again. You know what's funny? I thought this would make her smile. I spent 3 weeks working overtime to buy it. Give it to someone who deserves it, she whispered. I don't think anyone does right now. She sighed. Then keep it. Let it remind you what not to love. For a moment, I didn't say anything. I just stood there under the flickering streetlight, watching the people inside move like shadows. I really thought she cared, I said finally. When she said she'd always believe in me. When she told me I had talent. You do, Clara said, but you wanted her to see it first. Maybe that's your mistake. I looked at her. What do I do now? Prove her wrong, Clara said simply. Not with words. With success. Her words hit something deep inside me. I'd spent so long chasing approval from Lena, from people like her, that I forgot why I started designing in the first place. She said my suit looked cheap, I murmured. Maybe it did, but at least it was mine. Clara smiled faintly. Then make more of them. Better ones. Make the world wear your name. I let out a slow breath. You really think I can? I don't think. I know. The night grew quieter. The laughter inside faded, replaced by the low hum of traffic. I finally dropped the box into the trash bin. I don't need this anymore, I said. Clara's eyes softened. Good, because the best part of you isn't something you can wrap in paper. I managed a small laugh. You should write quotes for fortune cookies. She grinned. You'd buy one? Yeah, I said. Maybe someday, when I can actually afford dessert. Her laughter was warm, the kind that didn't sting. As we walked away from the hall, I glanced back one last time. Through the glass doors, I saw Lena dancing, her arm around Ryan, her head thrown back in laughter. For the first time, I didn't feel jealous, only cold clarity. I whispered to myself, someday, she'll remember this night, and I'll make sure it's for a reason she never expects. Clara heard me. What reason? The kind that costs everything money can't buy. She didn't press further. She just nodded, slipping her arm through mine as we walked down the quiet street. The moon hung low above the city lights. And for the first time, I didn't feel small beneath it. I felt something else. The first spark of a promise I would never break. That night, humiliation turned into hunger, and hunger became the fire that would burn my name into the world. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, Lena's laugh echoed sharp, mocking, unforgettable. Her voice blended with Ryan's smug grin, the way the crowd joined in like I was some circus act. My chest tightened, my jaw ached from grinding my teeth. I kept seeing their faces, their polished smiles. Mine cheap suit. Calloused hands looked like a bad joke among them. The clock blinked 3:27 a.m. I sat up, kicked off the blanket, and whispered, never again. By morning, my eyes burned. I didn't go to work. Instead, I walked to the river, the same spot I used to sit at when I needed to think. The gift was still in my hand, wrapped and untouched. A sketchbook I'd saved 3 paychecks for. I wanted to give it to Lena, to show her I remembered how she loved to draw before money became her art. Now it felt like proof of my stupidity. Ethan, I turned. Clara stood there in her faded denim jacket, hair tied messily. Eyes soft in that way that made you feel seen. I figured I'd find you here, she said, stepping closer. I asked. My voice came out rough. You disappear every time you're trying to convince yourself you're fine. She sat beside me, looking out at the water. How bad was it? I laughed under my breath. Let's just say, I gave everyone a good reason to laugh. Lena, especially, she laughed at you, in front of everyone. Because of this, I lifted the gift, the cheap paper now wrinkled from my grip. Clara's eyes softened even more. You actually brought her something. I thought it'd mean something. Guess I was wrong. She sighed, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Ethan, she's not the same girl you dated in high school. You know that? Yeah, I muttered. Back then, she cared about things that didn't shine under a spotlight. Clara was quiet for a moment. You really liked her, didn't you? Liked her? I exhaled. I thought she was the one. Turns out, I was just convenient until I wasn't. She looked at me carefully. So what now? You gonna keep letting her win? What does that even mean? It means, she said, you can't live your life proving them wrong. You'll just end up chasing ghosts. I stared at the water. The reflection trembled with every ripple, like it was trying to tell me something I didn't want to hear. I can't forget what happened, Clara. That laugh. I stopped, shaking my head. It stuck inside me. She reached over, touching my arm gently. You don't need their world to prove your worth. Her words hit me, quiet but heavy. I know, I said, but I want more than their approval. I want them to remember my name. The one they mocked. Clara frowned. That sounds like revenge. Maybe it is. She looked disappointed, but not surprised. You're better than that, Ethan, am I? Because last night, I didn't feel better. I felt small, invisible. She leaned back, hugging her knees. Then grow, but not for them. For you. I looked at her, wondering how she could still believe in people when life had never gone easy on her either. You always say things like that, I said. Like you still think people can change without burning down everything first. That's because I've seen it, she replied quietly. You just forget your own light sometimes. I smiled faintly. You sound like a therapist, she chuckled. I charge by the coffee cup. Then I owe you at least 3. Her laughter faded, replaced by a thoughtful silence. Just promise me one thing, she said. What? When you rise and, I know you will, don't lose the part of you that still cares. Her voice softened, but it carried a weight I couldn't ignore. I'll try, I said. Don't try. I looked down at the gift one last time. The paper tore easily in my hands as I unwrapped it. The sketchbook was plain, simple, honest. Everything Lena wasn't anymore. I flipped it open, pulled a pen from my pocket, and, on the first page, wrote, "To the man they laughed at, don't forget why." Clara leaned closer. That for her? I shook my head. No, for me. She smiled. Good. The river shimmered in the morning light, the kind that made the world feel new again. Maybe it was just a reflection, or maybe it was the first sign that something inside me had started to shift from pain into purpose. I didn't know how I'd do it yet, but I knew one thing for sure. They'd remember me. Losing my job didn't come with a warning. One morning, I showed up at the tailoring shop, and the door was locked. A paper sign fluttered against the glass, closed permanently. Sorry for the inconvenience. I stood there for a long time, my reflection staring back at me through the dusty window. Inside my head, one thought repeated. Now what? By the end of the week, my landlord's voice echoed through the thin walls of my apartment. You've got till Friday, Ethan. No payment? No room, I muttered. Yeah, I know. But knowing didn't help. The bills piled up, my fridge emptied, and my pride bruised every time I saw my neighbors heading off to work. That night, I sat at the small table in my room, sketching. I didn't even know why anymore. Old habits die hard, I guess. My pencil scratched against the paper, drawing suits not the kind Lena's crowd wore, but something real. Something a man could wear and feel like himself. Not a mannequin in a showroom. The next morning, I walked the streets with a few crumpled bills in my pocket. Just enough for a meal or maybe less. That's when I saw it. A street vendor, his stall stacked with rusted tools, buttons, scraps of fabric, and a few old sewing machines that looked like they'd survived wars. How much for that one? I asked, pointing to the least broken-looking machine. The old man squinted at me. That doesn't run smooth. $40. I counted the bills twice. 43. My last money. I swallowed hard. I'll take it. He handed it over, shaking his head. Hope you got strong arms, son. That thing's heavy. I've carried worse, I said, half to him, half to myself. When I got home, I cleared the table and set the machine down. It groaned like an old man when I tried to turn the wheel. I laughed softly. Guess we're both falling apart. I spent hours oiling it, adjusting screws, trying to remember what my old boss used to say about tension and thread paths. By midnight, the needle finally moved without jamming. I grabbed a scrap of fabric and started sewing. The first few stitches looked like chaos, uneven and ugly, but the soft hum of the machine lit something inside me. I worked until dawn. My fingers bled a little, my stomach growled, but I couldn't stop. By the time the sun rose, a half-finished jacket lay on the table. Crooked seams, rough edges, but mine. I ran my hand over it. You'll do, I whispered. You'll rise. That's when I named it. Phoenix. The next evening, I brought it to the small repair shop down the street to borrow some extra thread. The owner, an older man with gray hair and round glasses, looked up from his counter. Need something fixed? He asked. No, sir, I said. Just looking for black thread, heavy duty. He handed me a spool. You sew? Trying to, I said. Got laid off from a tailoring job. Thought I'd start something of my own. He leaned forward, curious. Show me what you've made. I hesitated. It's not perfect. Nothing worth making ever is. I unwrapped the jacket from the cloth I'd folded it in. He lifted it gently, examining the seams, the uneven lines, the stubborn patches of thread. His expression didn't change for a long moment. Then he smiled. You've got good hands. Rough, but steady. Who taught you? I picked it up at the shop, I said. Watched, practiced, messed up. A lot. He nodded slowly. That's how all tailors start. My name's Howard Ethan. Well, Ethan, he said, running his thumb along a seam. This stitch, here it's fighting the fabric. Let it breathe more. You're trying to control it instead of letting it move with you. I frowned. Didn't think about that. He handed it back. You will? If you want to learn properly, stop by here tomorrow morning. I open at 8. Are you offering me a job? He chuckled. A job? No, a bit of guidance. You look like someone who still believes in craft. That's rare these days. I didn't know what to say. Why help me? Because someone once helped me, he said simply. Besides, I could use the company. These machines don't talk back. I smiled. You haven't seen me work yet. Then I'll see tomorrow, he replied, turning back to his counter. Bring the Phoenix. My heart jumped a little when he said the name. How'd you wrote it inside the collar, he said without looking up. I noticed things. That night, I went home lighter than I'd felt in months. The machine hummed as I tested new stitches, fixing the parts he'd pointed out. My landlord's threats still hung over me, my stomach was still half empty. But my chest felt full for the first time since that night at Lena's party. I wasn't just trying to survive anymore. I was building something. Something that might, one day, make them remember. Again, Mr. Howard said, tapping my wrist with a blunt pencil. You're pulling too tight. Let the fabric breathe. I sighed. If I let it breathe too much, it'll fall apart. He smirked. And if you choke it, it'll die. Find the balance. I loosened my grip on the needle and tried again, guiding the thread with slower, steadier hands. The stitch came out smoother this time. He nodded. Better. You're starting to listen. I thought I was sewing, not meditating. He chuckled, wiping his glasses. Same thing, if you do it right. That was our rhythm, his lessons, my mistakes, and the quiet hum of the machines that filled the tiny workshop. Dusty windows let in streaks of morning light, falling across piles of fabric and spools of thread stacked. Like towers of color, Mr. Howard had a habit of talking while working. You see, Ethan, fabric's like people. It remembers how it's been treated. Be kind to it, and it shapes beautifully. Guess that's why some people fall apart, I muttered, eyes still on the seam. He looked at me over his glasses. Still thinking about her, I paused, the thread between my fingers, trembling slightly. Sometimes. Not the way you think, though. More like Shay reminds me what I don't want to become. He gave a soft grunt. Good. Let pain teach you, but don't let it lead you. I nodded, focusing on the hem. You ever been laughed at for chasing something no one believed in? He smiled faintly. Once or twice. My first shop burned down before I sold a single suit. People told me it was a sign to quit, and you didn't. Of course I didn't, he said, adjusting the tension dial. Fire doesn't end you, son. It forges you. His words stuck with me. Every stitch after that felt like a step forward. Weeks passed in a blur of cloth, chalk, and coffee-stained notebooks filled with sketches. I started designing under my own name, Cole Atelier. It sounded strange at first, too formal, too ambitious, but the old man grinned when I said it. Good name, he said. Simple, strong. Wear it with pride. One afternoon, while I was pinning a jacket sleeve, he said, You should start showing your work. To who? My landlord. To the world, he said. You've got that phone in your pocket, don't you? Use it. I laughed. You think people online care about handmade suits? They care about stories, he said, and yours is a good one. I didn't know if he was right, but that night, I set my phone on the table, angled the lamp toward the mannequin, and took a few photos of my designs. The light was uneven, the background cluttered, but I uploaded them anyway. Caption: Every stitch has a second chance. Cole Atelier. I expected nothing. But 2 days later, a message popped up from a small fashion influencer named Maya Lane. Hey. Love your work. Can I buy the grey suit in your post? I stared at the message for minutes before replying. Sure. It's yours. When she came to pick it up, she smiled as she tried it on. It fits perfectly. You made this by hand. Yeah, I said, trying to sound casual, though my heart was racing. Every piece, it feels alive, she said. Like it's got emotion. I smiled faintly. It kind of does. A few days later, her post went viral, her photo in my suit, tagged #Cole, ATELIER. Comments flooded in. Where did you get this? That craftsmanship is insane. Finally, something real. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I ran to the shop the next morning, waving it at Mr. Howard. You're not going to believe this. He raised a brow. You sell a suit, or win the lottery? Both kind of. People are asking for orders, real customers. He grinned. Then, I suppose you'll need help keeping up. I'll work double shifts, I said. I'll sleep here if I have to. He laughed softly. Easy, tiger. Success is like thread pull, too fast, it breaks. I can't believe this is happening, I said. After everything, he set a hand on my shoulder. You earned it, Ethan. Every sleepless night, every stitch. Remember that? For a moment, I couldn't speak. I just looked at him, the man who'd given me back a sense of purpose. Mr. Howard, I said quietly, I don't think I ever thanked you properly. He waved me off. Don't start now. I'm allergic to gratitude. I laughed. Too bad, because you're getting it anyway. He smiled, looking proud, the kind of pride I hadn't seen since my own father passed, that night. When I got home, I opened my sketchbook again. But this time, my hand didn't shake. I wasn't sketching out of desperation anymore. I was designing out of belief. The phoenix hadn't just risen, it was flying. As I stitched under the yellow glow of my desk lamp, I whispered, let them remember the name they mocked. And for the first time in my life, I believed they would. 2 years. That's how long it took for people to finally say my name without a hint of pity. Cole Atelier. It sounded sharper, cleaner, no longer a dream, but a brand. That night, I stood outside the Grand Pavilion, staring at the gold letters on the banner, Elite Designers Gala. The same kind of event I'd once been laughed out of, big night. Mr. Howard's voice echoed in my head, though he wasn't there. Big enough, I murmured, straightening my tie, one-eyed made myself. Inside. Cameras flashed like lightning. Models, editors, and influencers floated around, all silk and champagne. I tried to blend in, but the crowd noticed. That's Ethan Cole, someone whispered. The guy behind Cole Atelier. I forced a smile. Evening, I said, nodding politely as I passed. Cole Atelier, a man said behind me. Didn't think you'd show up? I turned. A tall guy in a white tux grinned at me, sharp jawline, slick hair, and the kind of confidence that usually comes with money. Mason Trent, he said, offering his hand. We met at the London show last spring. Right, I said, shaking it. Congrats on your new line, he smirked. Oh, you heard? I guess the industry's small after all. Smaller than it looks, I replied. He laughed softly. Careful, Cole. You're the talk of the season, but the higher you climb, the colder it gets. Good thing I brought a jacket, I said, smiling. He raised his glass. Let's see if your brand can handle the heat. Before I could respond, a familiar laugh sliced through the noise, sharp, rehearsed. Painfully recognizable. Lena. She was standing across the room, wearing a gold gown that shimmered under the lights. Ryan was next to her, his smile polished but empty. For a second, I froze. The music faded, the crowd blurred. 2 years vanished in a heartbeat. She turned, and her eyes met mine. Her smile faltered. Just slightly. Then she looked away. Mason followed my gaze. Old flame. Old mistake, I said. He chuckled. Ah, the best kind. I ignored him, and headed toward the refreshment table. My hands weren't shaking, but my heartbeat felt too loud. Ethan Cole, a voice said behind me, deeper, rougher than I remembered. Ryan, I turned slowly. Ryan Blake, he grinned, though it didn't reach his eyes. Been a while, you've done well, I try. Cole Atelier, he said, tasting the name. Didn't think you'd make it this far? I smiled faintly. Neither did you. His jaw tightened. You've changed. That's what happens when people stop laughing at you, I said quietly. He looked like he wanted to reply, but Lena appeared beside him. Ryan, she said, her tone brittle, her eyes flicked to me. Ethan. Lena, I replied, nodding. She hesitated. You're doing well. Trying to, I said. You look the same. Her smile wavered. You always were honest. Not always, I said. But I learned. Ryan put a hand on her back. Come on, Lena, we're late for the photo op. She nodded but didn't move. Her eyes lingered on my suit, the perfect fit, the stitching, the subtle logo on the cuff. Did you make that? She asked. Every stitch. She exhaled softly. It's beautiful. Thank you, I said. It's called Rebirth. Her lips parted, but Ryan pulled her away before she could respond. Mason appeared beside me again, swirling his drink. I'm guessing. I nodded once. She looked impressed. He said, I didn't come here for her, I replied. Good, he said, grinning. Because she's old money, and old money doesn't like new kings. I looked at him. Then, I'll build my own kingdom. He laughed. Careful, Cole. Pride burns fast. Sometimes fire's the only way to forge steel, I said. The rest of the night blurred into small talk, flashing lights, and backhanded compliments. I smiled through all of it. But my thoughts kept drifting to the moment. Lena's voice cracked when she said my name. She'd looked away. But not before I saw it, the flicker of regret, as I left the gala. The night air hit my face, cool and clean. The city lights shimmered in the distance. Reflected in the glass doors behind me. Once, I'd stood outside those same doors, wearing a cheap suit and holding a gift she'd never opened. Now, my name was on the guest list. I whispered to myself, not yet, Lena, but soon. Mr. Cole. The event committee loved your presentation. The organizer, a sharp-suited woman named Dana, said over the phone, we'd like Cole Atelier to design the main showcase collection for the upcoming gala. I nearly dropped my sketch pencil. You're serious? Completely. It's the luxury showcase. Every major brand will be represented. She paused, including Rivers Designs. Her words landed like a spark on dry silk. Rivers Designs, I repeated slowly. Yes, they're one of the sponsors. Problem. I forced a small laugh. Not at all, just poetic timing. After the call, I sat there for a long moment, watching sunlight spill across the fabric samples. I didn't need to seek revenge anymore. It had come to me. Mr. Howard looked up from his sewing table. You're smiling like a man with a secret. Maybe I am, I said, threading a needle. We got the luxury showcase. His wrinkled face softened. That's big news, son. But remember, sue with grace, not pride. I will, I promised. Grace can sting sharper than pride anyway. He chuckled, the sound warm and brittle. Just don't let old ghosts distract you. I didn't answer, but that night, as I sketched the final designs, her face kept returning, the tilt of her chin. The cool way she used to say my name like it was too simple for her world. When the day of the fittings came, the studio buzzed with controlled chaos, fabrics, models, and stylists everywhere. My team moved like a well-oiled machine, adjusting lapels and checking measurements. Mason Trent, a young designer with a too-perfect grin, sidled up beside me. So, Cole Atelier's the star this year, he said, lightly. Must feel nice. Feels earned, I replied. He laughed softly. Sure, though some say you got lucky. Viral story, a few influencers, and, boom, I turned to face him. Luck doesn't stay viral for 2 years. Mason, her smile faltered for a split second. I walked away before he could respond, adjusting my cufflinks, just as the door to the fitting room opened. And there she was. Lena. She looked almost the same, elegant, flawless, but her posture carried something brittle. Ryan wasn't with her. Her gaze swept the room, then froze when it landed on me. For a heartbeat, the air shifted, like the silence before thunder. Ethan? She breathed. I smiled politely. Professional, untouchable. Miss Rivers, I said evenly. Please be careful not to wrinkle the fabric. Her lips parted, then pressed shut. She took a step closer. You're designing for the showcase. Cole Atelier is leading it, I said. We're honored to have Rivers Designs as a sponsor. She blinked, trying to find her balance. I didn't realize that I'd still be here, I asked softly. Neither did I. Life's strange like that. Her expression shifted between pride and disbelief. You've changed. Growth tends to do that. I gestured toward the mannequin beside us. This piece, Phoenix 2, it's a refinement of my first design. Rebirth in silk form. She reached out, brushing the sleeve. It's beautiful. Thank you, I said, stepping slightly back. We'll begin fittings in 10 minutes. For a long moment, she didn't move. Ethan, please, I interrupted. My tone calm, but final. We have work to do. Mr. Howard approached just then, clipboard in hand. All set for the showcase lineup? Yes, I said, my eyes still on Lena. Everything's going exactly as planned. When she finally walked away, Mason appeared again, smirking. Old flame. I glanced at him. Old lesson. He laughed awkwardly. Right, well, good luck at the gala. I hear Rivers Designs is struggling lately. I didn't react, though inside, I felt a flicker of something close to pity. Then I hope they find their footing. We all fall sometimes. That night, after everyone left, I stayed in the workshop with Mr. Howard. The hum of the sewing machine filled the quiet. He looked at me over his glasses. You saw her, didn't you? Yes. And? I exhaled slowly. It didn't hurt like I thought it would. It just reminded me of who I used to be. He nodded. Then you've won, boy. The threads come full circle. I smiled faintly. Winning never felt so quiet. When the night of the luxury showcase arrived, I stood backstage, surrounded by the culmination of every sleepless night, bold lines, intricate stitching, the echo of my journey woven into every seam. Mason passed by, clapping me on the shoulder. Break a leg out there, Cole, I nodded. You too. The lights dimmed. Models stepped onto the runway. Each piece drew a hush from the crowd, then applause that built like a wave. I spotted Lena in the audience, front row. She wasn't dazzling this time. She was just watching, eyes wide, lips parted slightly, like someone finally seeing something real. When the final model walked out wearing Phoenix 2, the audience stood. Applause thundered. I bowed slightly, calm/centered. No rage, no gloating. Just gratitude. Later, as guests crowded backstage, Lena approached again. Ethan, she said quietly. Congratulations, it's incredible. Thank you, I replied, meeting her gaze without flinching. You were right, once I wasn't ready for your world. I had to build my own. She swallowed hard. You did, I smiled faintly. And now, Miss Rivers, I need to get back to work. As she turned to leave, I ran my hand over the fabric of Phoenix 2. The threads felt alive, steady, unbroken. Mr. Howard's words echoed in my mind. Sew with grace, not pride. That night, for the first time, I finally understood what he meant. The applause still rang in my ears long after the lights dimmed. I could barely hear over the echo of my own heartbeat. Mr. Howard clapped me on the back, his eyes shining. You did it, son. That was art. I smiled. We did it. Every stitch was ours. He chuckled. Don't get humble on me now. You earned every gasp in that room. I wanted to answer, but the noise outside grew louder. Camera flashes, reporters shouting my name. Mr. Cole, over here. One photo. I stepped forward, the heat of the spotlights still clinging to my skin. As I turned toward the crowd, I caught a glimpse of Lena across the room. She stood near the Rivers Designs display, her posture stiff, her smile brittle. Then I heard the whispers. Did you see the report? One journalist murmured to another. Rivers Designs copied a pattern from a Milan designer. It's everywhere online. I froze for half a second, then moved past them. I didn't need to look. I already knew how this story ended. Mr. Howard joined me near the exit. You heard, didn't you? I did, I said quietly. Plagiarism accusations. He nodded. You didn't have to lift a finger. I didn't, I said, half smiling. She did that to herself. Outside, the after-party pulsed with light and laughter. I shook hands, smiled for photos, thanked investors I barely remembered. Through it all, my mind drifted back to the stage. The way my name had echoed in applause while hers had faded in whispers. Mason appeared beside me, holding a glass of champagne. Big night, Cole, you're officially the man of the hour. I raised a brow. And you're still here? Thought you'd left with the critics. He grinned. I like to stay close to winners, helps me learn. Then learn this, I said. Success isn't about crushing others, it's about outlasting them. He tilted his glass. Wise words. Maybe I'll quote you someday. Just spell my name right, I said. Walking away, I stepped outside to breathe. The cool night air felt cleaner than anything I'd inhaled in years. Then I heard voices behind the building. Sharp, angry. Ryan, don't walk away from me. Lena's tone cracked, her control slipping. Walk away. Ryan snapped. I've been dragging dead weight for years, Lena. I'm done. You're leaving me. Now, he laughed bitterly. I'm leaving you for someone who actually has potential, someone with better connections. Her voice dropped, desperate. You can't do this to me. Watch me. I stood there, hidden by the corner, listening to the sound of her world breaking the way mine once did. For a moment, I waited. Maybe I'd step in, maybe I'd offer something cold but clever. Some final line to prove I'd won, but the thought died as quickly as it came. Mr. Howard's words echoed in my mind, sue with grace, not pride. I took one quiet step forward, the gravel crunching under my shoe. They both turned as I passed. Ethan, Lena whispered, eyes wide, voice trembling. I met her gaze for a heartbeat. Good night, Miss Rivers, Ryan scoffed. Guess karma has good taste in timing, huh? I didn't reply. I just kept walking, past their wreckage, past the noise, past everything that used to hold me. Reporters swarmed as I reached the main road. Mr. Cole, how does it feel to be the breakout designer of the year? Any comment on the Rivers Designs scandal? What's next for Cole Atelier? Their flashes burst like fireworks. It feels, I said, smiling faintly, like I finally stopped chasing what I lost and started creating what I'm meant to be. The cameras erupted again. I waved once, stepped into the waiting car, and let the door close behind me as the city lights slid by. I looked at my reflection in the window. The man who'd once begged for validation now stared back, calm and unshaken. Revenge had burned out somewhere along the way, replaced by something quieter, steadier. Living well. That was the final answer. Mr. Howard always said, fabric remembers the hands that shape it. That night, I finally believed him. My story wasn't stitched in bitterness anymore. It was woven from resilience, redemption, and something stronger than revenge. As the car turned toward home, I whispered to the empty seat beside me. Phoenix wasn't just a design after all. And for the first time, I felt weightless. When Clara told me someone was waiting in my office, I didn't think much of it. Clients dropped by unannounced all the time. But when I stepped inside and saw her standing there, holding one of my suits, time froze. Lena. She turned slowly. Her eyes were red, her makeup faint, her voice barely a whisper. Hi, Ethan. I didn't answer. I just stared, taking in the trembling hands, clutching a garment bag with my logo on it, Cole Atelier. I didn't mean to just show up, she said, her words tumbling out unevenly. I wasn't sure if you'd even see me. I leaned against the desk. You're here now. What do you want? She blinked fast. I just wanted to say. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry. The silence between us stretched. I heard the faint ticking of the wall clock, the hum of the sewing machine outside. For what? I asked finally. For laughing at me, for the suit I never got to give you, or for pretending I didn't exist when I wasn't worth your attention. Her eyes shimmered. For all of it, she said, I was cruel. I thought being with people like Ryan would make me someone, but it didn't. It just made me smaller. I looked at her, really looked. The confident girl I once knew was gone. You don't have to explain, I said quietly. We were both young. You made me see who I really am. She frowned. What do you mean? If that night hadn't happened, I'd still be chasing approval, I said. You laughing at me? That was my spark. It hurt, but it built me. Her lip trembled. So, you hate me less now? I don't hate you, I said. Hate would mean I still care enough to feel that. She let out a shaky breath. You always talked like that, calm, measured, like you saw through people. I just learned to listen more than I speak, I replied. She laughed softly, though it sounded more like a sob. I used to think confidence was wearing expensive things. Now I see it's just being okay in your own skin. That's one lesson you can't buy, I said. She nodded slowly. I saw your designs online. They're beautiful. You always had talent, Ethan, I shrugged. Talent's nothing without pain to shape it. Her gaze fell to the suit she held. Can I at least buy one of your designs? I don't care which one. I just want to wear something you made. I paused, letting the question hang between us. They're quite expensive now. A faint smile touched her lips. I know, I can't afford it. The words hit harder than I expected. For a second, I almost said she could have it, but something stopped me. Not pride, not revenge. Just the understanding that this chapter was meant to close, not reopen. I appreciate the gesture, I said gently. But I think some things are better remembered, not relived. She nodded, eyes glistening. You've really changed. I had to, I said. You showed me who I didn't want to be. She hesitated, then stepped forward, placing the suit carefully on my desk. Keep it, she whispered. I bought it second-hand. It's yours anyway. I looked down at the label stitched inside Phoenix Edition. My first real design, the one that started everything. Goodbye, Ethan, she said, voice breaking. I met her eyes one last time. Goodbye, Lena. She turned and walked out, her footsteps fading down the hall. For a long moment, I stood there, staring at the suit. My reflection in the glass showed a man calm whole. No longer chasing closure because I'd already found it. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It just meant I was finally free. I stood on the sidewalk, staring at the glass doors of the flagship store. Cole Atelier glowed in bold letters above me, reflecting in the sunlight like a promise kept. A man in a sharp grey suit passed by, nodding toward the entrance. Looks like Cole Atelier, he said, smirking. Looks like it, I replied, quietly, almost to myself. The streets were buzzing with people wearing my designs, suits I'd imagined late at night, sketched on scraps of paper while I went hungry. Some smiled as they walked in. Some lingered, staring at the craftsmanship. I reached up, touching the glass doors lightly. We did it, Mr. Howard, I whispered. I hope you're proud. A pang of sadness hit me. Mr. Howard had passed months ago, leaving me to carry the atelier alone. But somehow, I still felt him beside me, guiding my hands, reminding me of every lesson he'd taught. Mr. Cole. I turned to see a young journalist holding a notepad. Her nametag read, Anna Reeves. Yes, I asked, brushing a hand over my sleeve. I write for City Style magazine, she said, her voice energetic but respectful. I wanted to ask a few questions about your journey, your story. It's remarkable. People are calling you the man who wove his pain into power. I let a small smile touch my lips. That's flattering, but I don't feel like power is the right word. I just wanted to create something real. She tilted her head, pen ready. And yet, your name is everywhere. Cole Atelier is the brand everyone talks about. I glanced back at the doors, at the people stepping inside, and the suits they wore, my suits, my work. I suppose power can be found in survival, I said quietly, turning struggle into something lasting. She scribbled something quickly, then looked up. What was the moment you realized it would work? I thought for a second, remembering the nights at my small workshop, the threadbare sketches, the sleepless hours with Phoenix and Phoenix 2. The moment I stopped trying to impress anyone else, I said, when I made what I wanted to make, Not what anyone else expected. Anna smiled softly. And Lena Rivers. People will want to know if your past fueled your present. I laughed lightly. She taught me the first lesson. Who I was without approval. But my designs, my atelier. They're about more than revenge now. They're about creating a legacy. She nodded, jotting down every word. A legacy built from pain and perseverance. Truly inspiring. I stepped closer to the entrance, feeling the weight of every late night, every failure, every insult that once crushed me. Every stitch has a story, I said. Not just the good moments, the bad ones too. They all weave together. She looked at me, eyes wide. Do you ever look back and regret the path you took? I shook my head firmly. Regret? Never. It's what shaped me. Without it, none of this would exist. My name, my atelier, it's proof that even from pain, something beautiful can grow. The glass doors reflected my face, calm and steady. People streamed past me into the store, their footsteps light, their voices full of excitement. I whispered again, softer this time. As if the words were meant only for Mr. Howard, we did it. Anna lowered her notepad, smiling. Thank you, Mr. Cole. This article will tell everyone your story. The man who refused to be broken. I nodded. Just remember, I said, the story isn't about me. It's about everyone who refuses to stop. She thanked me and walked away, pen still moving across the page. I watched her go, then turned fully toward the store, taking a deep breath. The sunlight caught the gold letters of Cole Atelier again. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel the shadow of anyone else. Not Lena, not Ryan, not the past. I was finally free. My success wasn't revenge anymore. It was survival, transformed into legacy. I smiled to myself. We did it, Mr. Howard, I whispered again, stepping inside. The grand ballroom shimmered under crystal chandeliers. I could hear the soft clink of glasses and polite chatter. But it all felt distant, like I was floating above it. A young reporter approached me, notepad in hand. Mr. Cole, can you share what inspired this latest collection? I smiled faintly. Looking around at the elegantly dressed crowd, the press snapping photos. Sure, I said. Once, someone mocked my cheap suit. That's how this journey began. A ripple of laughter moved through the room, warm, genuine. Not the laughter that had haunted me for years, but one that felt like acknowledgement. Another journalist leaned closer. And that moment shaped Cole Atelier. Yes, I said. It reminded me that success isn't about impressing everyone else. It's about proving to yourself what you're capable of. A woman in a tailored black dress, probably another designer, tilted her head. So your past, your struggles, fueled this collection? I nodded. Every stitch tells a story. Some of them painful, some of them small victories, but they all brought me here. I spotted Mason Trent across the room, watching, clearly impressed. I raised my glass slightly in acknowledgement. He returned it with a faint smile. Do you ever think about Lena Rivers? Someone asked quietly, curiosity in their voice. I exhaled slowly. Sometimes, she taught me my first real lesson about self, but my work isn't about her anymore. Then it's purely your triumph, the reporter said. I let the words settle in my chest. Yes, I admitted. Purely my own. A waiter passed by with champagne. I took a sip and let the taste ground me. The room continued to hum with energy. But I felt a quiet peace I hadn't known in years. A young apprentice, one of my new hires, tugged at my sleeve. Mr. Cole, the audience loved your designs. They're calling this collection Poetic Elegance. I chuckled softly. Poetic elegance. I like that. But the real poetry, I said, looking around the room, is the journey it represents. I could feel the weight of every late night, every sacrifice, every doubt I'd battled. All of it led to this moment, not a triumph over someone else, but over the boy I had once been. Do you ever get nervous? Another journalist asked. I shook my head. Nervous? No. I've been terrified, humiliated, and underestimated. That's worse than nerves. This, I gestured to the room, to the applause waiting, This is home? A soft laugh escaped me as a waiter dropped a tray near my feet. Careful, I joked. Even victory has its spills. The room laughed along. The sound was different this time. No sneers, no ridicule, just warmth and admiration. I walked slowly to the center of the ballroom, letting the applause wash over me. For the first time in years, I wasn't chasing approval. I wasn't haunted by the past. I whispered under my breath, almost to myself, "We did it, Mr. Howard. We really did it." A friend nudged me gently. "Your speech." I shook my head. "Not tonight. Tonight, the work speaks for itself." The chandeliers glinted off the polished floor as I stood there quietly, letting every moment sink in. The journey had been long. Humiliation, hunger, loss, every step mattered. I looked toward the balcony, imagining Lena, or anyone from that past watching. But I realized it didn't matter anymore. Their regrets, their opinions, they weren't part of this anymore. Instead, I saw faces of people I had inspired, people who believed in my work. I saw apprentices eager to learn. I saw my own reflection in the glass doors, a man who had been broken, rebuilt, and polished with patience and determination. Someone approached me, a reporter, whispering, "Any final words for your fans?" I smiled, the kind of smile that comes from peace, not triumph. "Yes," I said. "Cherish your journey, even the painful parts. Because those are the threads that weave your life into something beautiful." Applause broke out again, this time genuine, heartfelt. I let it wash over me, soaking into every corner of my being. And in that moment, standing quietly amidst the glittering ballroom, I understood I had already won. Not because anyone regretted their actions toward me, not because of revenge, not because of recognition, but because I had become someone I could be proud of. The journey had ended. The quiet victory wasn't loud or flashy. It was steady, enduring, and mine. I lifted my glass and whispered one last time, "We did it."